In our previous video clips, we looked at some of the concerns around the Department of Education's planned implementation of Comprehensive Sexuality Education, which they plan to roll out across the schools of South Africa. And we looked at some of the excuses that they made for wanting this program. This is not to say that they're not very real issues in our country that we need to address. And it's also not to say that there's no place for sex education, but it is to say that there are very real concerns about the form of sex education which the Department of Education plans to bring in, as well as the way that they're going about it. In our next clip, we'll look at some of the key influences of this program that threatens to come into our schools, into our classrooms, through the teachers that our children trust and have grown to trust, to touch their minds, to introduce new thoughts to them, to change the way they think about their sexuality in ways that many parents would find deeply disturbing, and seek to change the behavior of our children. And all of this without meaningful consultation with parents. Indeed, most of us would not have even been aware of this program. As horrific as this sounds, this is exactly what the Department of Education is intending. In their own words, and I quote, "Your learners take home new ideas and share them with their parents, the importance of behavior change and good decision making." Wow! Do you see what a low opinion the Department of Education has of parents? That they want to instill, without our permission, they want to instill new values into our children, and that our children come home and teach us parents about these new, better values and about the importance of behavior change. That is so patronizing. That quote was from the Grade 6 Educator's Guide. So we see that the Department of Education is bulldozing this, their plan through. Although they said in their presentation to Parliament in 2019 that they invite ongoing discussion on CSE, in practice they've given a very different picture. Consider this. For parents, the Department of Education have said that if you don't like what they're teaching, then you must take your child out of the public school, which means you need to put them in a private school or homeschooling, both of which are not an option for most parents. For teachers, they have said that if you don't teach this, you will face disciplinary action. For religious leaders and traditional leaders, they had at very short notice, and not everyone invited, they had this meeting up in Pretoria, where they also invited many youth who were part of, presumably part of activist organizations, and the essence of that message, that instead of hearing from religious leaders and traditional leaders, what do you say about comprehensive sexuality education? Is this what you want? Instead, they were saying, this is what we want. And the message to these leaders was essentially shape up or ship out. And you can read about this, that it was expressed so clearly by Errol Naidu, who was present, and also by Michael Swain of 4SA. So I submit to you that an appropriate response to what the department is trying to do is one of intense anger. That someone should come and try to instill in your child values that you don't believe in, values that you find abominable, against God, against the sanctity of marriage, against the sanctity of human life. That someone should seek to indoctrinate your child with these values should fill you with rage. Who is it who would dare to do this? Who would dare to come and rob a mother bear of her cubs? Who would come between a lioness and her cubs? Or between an elephant and its child? Between you and your child? This is not a time for us to be silent. The power to rule this country comes from us, from the people of South Africa. Those men and women acting in Parliament are there because we put them there. They are accountable to us. They must listen to us. They must hear our wishes. I am calling on all South Africans, parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents, and concerned members of the public, to raise our voices and express our wishes clearly to our members of Parliament. I want them knee-deep in emails that are coming into their inboxes. I want to see thousands upon thousands of people filling the streets and bashing on the doors of Parliament to hear our voices. This is not the way that South Africa wants to go. And so I'm calling on us, on each of us, to take some time out to email your members of Parliament and to let them know that you're not happy with what the Department of Education is trying to do.